Hello. This is the 122nd issue of Catch of the Day, available on the Branch Talk YouTube channel. Today we're going to continue reading from Doug Mitchell's book, When the Siege Has Ended, Ezekiel 5, The Judgment for the Living. Starting at the top, or near the top of page 18, the second paragraph we read, "But God didn't leave them to themselves, scattered in the wind. He sent the sword of truth after them. That sword was to give them no rest as it pursued them. That is, the convictions they were under as they were investigating the Advent message and even the Rod Reform message, as the case may be, could not be easily shaken, and has kept coming after them as would a pursuing enemy. It is somewhat like what Jacob must have thought as he wrestled with the angel who was trying to bless him, even though Jacob thought he was an enemy. At a certain point during the wrestling, Jacob must have thought that he had, as it were, bitten off more than he could chew, and wished that he had never engaged in the struggle. Yet it was too late to just walk away. He had to see the matter through to the end. Such it has been with those who were scattered to the wind. The sword of truth has pursued them wherever they have been scattered. The Lord is not going to cease from pursuing them, as he intends to bless them, as the angel did Jacob, or bring judgments upon them who are trying to remain neutral in a time when all decisions are critical. One songwriter stated that principle quite simply: in ceremonies of the horsemen, even the pawn must hold a grudge. The fourth part of the purification. Thou shalt also take of thereof a few in number, and bind them in thy skirts. Then take of them again, and cast them into the midst of the fire, and burn them in the fire. For thereof shall a fire come forth into all the house of Israel." Ezekiel 5, verse 3 and 4. After Ezekiel did what he was told, with the 3/3 parts of the hair, he was told to take a small remnant of the hair and protect it from the judgments that came upon the rest of the hair by binding it in his garment. Yet not all of that remnant was to escape judgment thereby, for he was told to take of them and cast that portion of the remnant into the midst of the fire. Note that it does not say that he was to take them, implying all of them, but of them, implying only a portion of them. As the fire, into which the first third of the hair was to be cast, was in the midst of the city, Jerusalem, then that must also be the place where the fire was, and where that portion of the preserved remnant of the hair was also to be cast. As Jerusalem is a symbol of the ministry, then this event must also take place upon another portion of the ministry. This time, though, it represents the ministry of the preserved portion, the branch. But as all of those who became members of the True Davidian Association after it received its name change to branch were candidates to become the 11th hour laborers, ministers in the loud cry, then that portion of the preserved hair that was cast into the fire represents a portion of those in the whole branch movement, and not just the leading ministers. Though the judgment was to begin there with those who had the greatest light, because all branches were potentially subject to being a part of that portion of the preserved remnant that was to be burned in the fire. As the fire in verse 4 represents the same thing as it does in verse 2, then it must also represent the unrolling of the scroll, progressive truth, that either saves or destroys. So just as the unrolling of the scroll under Ben Roden brought judgment upon the ministries of the SDAs and Davidians, and on their respective members, and those others who came in contact with them, but did not formally become or remain a part of them, just so did the unrolling of the scroll under Lois Roden do likewise to the members of the branch, that small remnant of the hair that was hidden in Ezekiel's garment. While those who had accepted the branch message under Ben Roden had been preserved from the judgments that had come upon the rest of the church at that time, because they were hidden in Ezekiel's skirt, they too were to be investigated and judged by an unrolling of the scroll, this time under Lois Roden, either being purified by the trying fire or burned up by it. Quite interesting. Take a good look. Take care.